Yeah. Say good?
Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you?
You doing okay?
Yeah, fine.
When was the last time you had something to drink?
Last night?
About how many hours ago?
Like 10 hours ago, at least.
How many drinks did you have?
A few beers. That's it.
Define a few beers.
A few beers.
Define a few beers.
Like 3.
Okay. Yeah. What'd you drink?
Like beer. Miller Lite.
No light?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
At Savannah Hilton Head International Airport in Chatham County, Georgia, a routine morning shifts into a federal-grade investigation when TSA reports the smell of alcohol on a commercial pilot's breath. The pilot had cleared the known crew member checkpoint, an expedited screening lane operated under TSA authority, where staff first detected the odor and immediately notified the airport police department. A patrol officer meets the pilot on the jet bridge and opens with calm, conversational questions about when he last drank. The pilot says 10 hours ago and admits to having a few beers the night before. His estimate of how many drinks shifts from a few to 2, then finally settles on 3. Inconsistent answers during the earliest moments of questioning are a classic indicator officers are trained to document carefully.
Who were you with?
My FO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to provide field sobriety with me right now?
No.
Why not?
There's no need.
Well, I can smell an odor consistent with an alcoholic beverage.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
These.
What is that?
Rose.
Do you have any fresh ones that haven't been in your mouth?
Yeah. Right in my bag.
Thank you.
I can smell it. I can smell it.
Tobacco or just nicotine.
Smells mini.
So my issue is I don't have a PPT, and like obviously it's a fully booked flight.
Over the other one. Okay, here's, we know, so what is that, 8 hours separation from the last drink? So you have that, we have a couple of people. So we already have a report that says that there might be some inebriation. Someone who checked it and smelled alcohol, and then they reported to guys. I'm just telling you, we got the call. I can sense, or I have a smell of a adult beverage coming off of you. I don't know if it's coming out of your mouth or your skin. If it's coming out of the pores, I get it. But we got to do our thing, so we're trying to.
Do I see him?
Would you do field sobriety?
Sure.
Do you have a jacket or something? Because it's kind of cold
do.
outside. Alright, so we can do it right here. Yeah. I'm gonna do the eyes first, just watch it. Because obviously I know you're not certified, so like I have to do it, but just watch for clues and stuff. Because if this would be a brand new uncharted territory.
I talked to the first officer also.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
You guys want to talk to the flight attendants? They were there too.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll go ahead and do one separate. Do you have an Bodycam or pushback?
Yeah.
You do?
We did. I don't have my phone, but I think my watch is dead, but it's like in a few minutes.
Well, this can go quickly, but just come over here.
All right.
Okay, so do you have any health issues? Anything? I'm sorry, you're a pilot, so you can't have any crazy health issues or any problems or anything. I notice you wear contact or you have glasses.
I do.
Okay. So what I'm just going to ask you to do.
We just go away from the passenger. Sure.
Okay, so all I need you to do is the tip of my pen right here, this little white tip. I'm going to move it back and forth. I need you to follow it with your eyes, your eyes only. You understand that? You don't have any issues doing that for me? Okay. So just pay attention to the tip of this pen. Okay? For this next exercise, I know it's kind of difficult because it's kind of at an incline, but just on here on this smooth flat surface, I need you to take a series of heel-toe steps. I'm going to explain it to you. What you're going to do is you're going to put your left foot or your right foot, whichever's more comfortable. I'm left-handed, so I'm using my right foot first. You're going to go heel-toe, and if you just take a step to the side really quick, you're just going to take a series of heel-toe steps and count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you do that until you get to 10. Make sure you count out loud. Make sure you go heel-toe. Don't look down. Don't put your arms out for balance. Do you have any issues with that?
No problem.
Okay.
I'll go up here so it gets well.
You can start right there. All right, you ready?
Yep.
You may begin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Can you turn around and go the other way?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Alright, if you step down on this little platform. Alright, so this next test is called the one-legged stand. So what you're going to do is whichever foot you prefer, whichever one you feel like you have a stronger balance with, you're just going to, with your hands at your side, put your foot out in front of you like this, and you're going to hold it, and just count out loud 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, until I tell you to stop. Okay? Don't start until I tell you to begin. Do you understand these instructions?
Sure.
Alright, you may begin.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000.
The officer detects a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage and asks the pilot to perform standardized field sobriety tests. The pilot initially refuses, then agrees once the basis for the request is explained. Under Federal Aviation Regulation Part 91.17, no person may operate a civil aircraft within 8 hours of consuming alcohol, while under its influence, or with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.04% or higher. The officer steps the pilot away from passengers and begins the Horizontal Gaze Nystagmus test, watching the eyes track a pen for involuntary jerking movements often associated with alcohol impairment. Next comes the walk and turn, a divided attention test requiring 9 heel-to-toe steps along a straight imaginary line, a precise pivot, and then 9 steps back. The pilot stumbles and breaks form on the return.
9, 1,000, 10, 1,000, 11, 1,000, 12, 1,000, 13, 1,000, 14, 1,000, 15, 1,000, 16, 1,000.
Okay, you can stop. Just do me a favor and just hang on really quick. Here's a mince back. I just gotta go talk with them for a minute, okay? I saw it, yeah, the nystagmus. I didn't really see it in the walk and turn, but I definitely saw the nystagmus. So, yeah. So, at this point, would it be DWI Less Safe if he doesn't agree to a blood draw, or?
So there's I'll get up. I'll get over everything and I'll slice off the stackings. So whatever you saw is what I'll get on there. There can't be any. I know the question is where do we go from here?
Yeah. Being that there's not a sergeant on duty coming in, that's why I'm really.
I saw the twitch. Yeah, I'll go and get it.
Can you come on here so I don't have to squeeze in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys would only at the airport.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if it's a long time. I still did an internship at the airport.
Going to the gate. They check out me by that.
I can get down the some officers
Yes, sir. What's going on? So, my name's Corporal Best. I'm the supervisor right now with the Airport Police Department. So, did you guys go out and have a few drinks last night?
I met here. We had a drink, yeah.
Okay. So, my problem is that right now, Sam, I'm talking to you. I don't smell anything coming off of you. I can smell a very strong odor, alcohol beverage coming off of him. And that's a huge issue, regardless in general, whether we were standing on the side of the road or the camera was right next to you. But it's an even bigger issue because there's what, probably 100 and...
There's not that many people. It doesn't matter. That's not the point, yeah.
But the issue is I can detect it. And so, obviously, I don't know where you guys are based out of, where the hub is, but with the FST that I just put him through, he did exhibit signs of impairment on top of the other officer as well. So, I'm going to make a phone call to my supervisor, but there's a very strong possibility, or a very strong probability, that he's going to be taken to Chatham County Detention Center for the willful intent to operate an aircraft while intoxicated. So if you need to start making some phone calls, I would just go ahead and start doing it, okay? Do we have any blood kits down there actually still?
Blood kits? Blood kits?
For blood draw?
Not that I'm aware of. That usually I just do it on the side of the road, or they go back to the station for the doxylator. Okay, so got caught in the cause.
And when I just talked to him, he immediately dropped his hand as soon as I started talking. He's like, yeah, we went out for drinks. And I was like, okay, well, my issue is you smoke or you don't fine. You breathe. And I was like, and I put him through FST and he's exhibiting strong signs. But I've already told him to go ahead and start making the phone calls because
Yeah, I told the airlines too. But,
and it would be what, DUI for the willful intent of operating an aircraft? Well,
yeah, because it's commercial. You can't have any impairment on a commercial aircraft. Like it's like CDLs. You know, they don't have a presumptive alcohol level. So.
So you think we should go up to the gate and do this, or take him up to the patrol car?
He needs to, he's not gonna want it.
Yeah.
They're making calls. They're trying to figure out what they're gonna do on this. They're in.
Do me a favor, if you don't mind, or I can do it, like jog or run to the IHA and see if there's those white blood kits. Or actually, let me ask him first before we even do that. Alright, so do you have any personal belongings on the plane?
I do.
What do you have on there? Like just like your go bag and like a phone and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So my issue is I'm trained in standardized field sobriety, and you've exhibited strong signs, and even after speaking with your first pilot, like the issue is, would you agree to a blood draw to test your blood alcohol content? No. Okay. Well, the issue is when you agreed to the field sobriety, you exhibited the symptoms, and if you're refusing to a blood draw, that's DWI Less Safe for the willful intention to operate a commercial aircraft.
Seriously?
Yes, sir.
How did I fail? I did everything.
The signs that you exhibited during those 3 tests, I'm able to articulate based off those and the odor coming off of your person. It's very consistent with DUI.
Okay. Well, yeah. So what do you want me to do?
So what's going to happen is if you don't agree to a blood draw, it'll be DUI Less Safe. You'll be booked into the Chatham County Detention Center, and we'll give you a phone call. You can, more than likely, because it's Tuesday, it's a weekday. But that's the route that we're going to have to take, unfortunately. Okay.
Okay. And if I did agree to a blood draw, then what?
I mean, that's just, it's part of the ongoing investigation, that it's like, I did my part, but it's like your blood is the non-negotiable, like that'll prove whether or not it is what it is. So. Okay.
Yeah, well.
But obviously, I can't coax you in it. You have your right. You said no. So based off that alone, and based off the field sobriety that you...
Even if I gave you blood, then nothing would change.
Okay.
Right?
That is your willful choice that you were willing to make, but based off the calls that we received stating that people down in TSA could smell what smelled like alcohol coming off of your breath, and they're not trained. I am trained in odor and alcohol impairment.
That's fine. I mean...
The third test is the one-leg stand, where the subject lifts one foot and counts aloud until told to stop. The officer notes subtle balance issues and a small twitch, consistent with impairment indicators. A supervising corporal then arrives on scene and observes that while the first officer standing nearby gives off no odor at all, the pilot reeks of alcohol. That sharp contrast becomes critical probable cause evidence. The corporal explains that under Georgia law, operating any vehicle, including a commercial aircraft, while less safe due to alcohol, is a chargeable offense, even without a confirmed blood alcohol number. The relevant statute is Georgia Code Section 406391, which prohibits operation while under the influence to the extent the operator is less safe to do so. The aircraft setting does not exempt the conduct. Officers offer the pilot a voluntary blood draw to scientifically measure his blood alcohol concentration. He refuses, a decision that triggers serious administrative and evidentiary consequences in Georgia. The corporal reads the Georgia Implied Consent Notice required by Code 405671, which advises drivers that operating on Georgia roads constitutes consent to chemical testing of blood, breath, or urine.
Nothing's going to change your mind. I didn't even talk to TSA today. I went to KCM.
It's operated by TSA.
Right. Okay. So, all right, I'll get my stuff, but whatever you gotta do.
Okay. My officer is gonna grab your stuff. If you don't mind, we're just gonna head up to the patrol car, so that way we don't have to do all in front of the public eye. As long as you just be cool, I'll be cool.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
but yeah, I'd like to. I can't grab my stuff myself.
Yeah, if you would like to, we can do that.
Yeah.
Do you want some overtime, or do you want me to take it? Well, just because I'm going to have to give a report if you don't mind taking him to cattle, since he refused blood.
I want to get things squared away.
Yeah. 751 to 749. airport property. Can you keep feet back here? Stick your head in there, just make sure he's not like really down. Do you have any bottled water up here?
I can't. How do you feel about
Is it sparkling?
No, it's just flat water. We have sparkling.
No, I wasn't afraid I was going to be sparkling.
No, we just make it easier to recycle and stuff.
And it's a little cold.
Ground tower and air to gate 2.
Let's go out this way. Go ahead. Seven 4 9. Can you grab that? now really quickly, like I said, I'm gonna be cool with you. I know it's a shitty scenario. Do you have like a driver's license with you? Like I know you have all your airport credentials and everything. So I just keep that just for documentational purposes. Yeah, 2 phones. And then you mind just taking off the lanyard so I can just take a picture of your Southwest credentials too? So, I don't believe that they're going to allow you to keep all this at the jail. So we're just going to log it into our evidence here. So that way, once you get bailed out, you come back here. There'll be a property sheet and everything, so you'll have to come back out here. Then our evidence custodian will sign your luggage back out to you. Okay?
I guess. How about my wallet?
You can keep that. And then, do you have your phone as well? Yeah, those they'll let you keep those. Unfortunately, just because it's like big luggage and everything, they don't let people keep that anymore. So, unfortunately, this is the nitty-gritty part. I just have to read you the implied consent law in Georgia. Even though I know your license was out of a different state, you're just currently in Georgia. So the implied consent law for people over the age of 21 states that in the state of Georgia has conditioned people with the privilege to drive upon highways in the state upon the submission to the state-administered chemical test of your blood, breath, or urine, other bodily substances for the purpose of determining you are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. If you refuse this testing, your Georgia driver's license, or in this case your out-of-state license, will be suspended for the privilege of a minimum of 1 year. The refusal to submit blood testing may be offered into evidence against you at trial. If you submit to testing and the results indicate an alcohol concentration of 0.08 grams or more, your Georgia or out-of-state driver's license or privilege to drive on the highways of this state may be suspended for a minimum of 1 year. You are entitled to additional chemical tests of your blood or other bodily substances at your own expense and from qualified personnel of your own choosing. And you've already agreed that you did not want to participate in the blood draw. So because of that, I'm now going to detain you. Like I said, as long as you just continue to be cool with me, I'll be cool with you, okay? Can you just step over here really quick? Step on glasses. Yeah, you can keep them. Step on. If you just want to put it up there with your ID and everything, it'll be all in a little baggie for you. So you just stand face away from me. Oh, hang on, before you sit down, just put your hands right there, palms up.
The notice further warns that any refusal results in a minimum 1-year license suspension, and that the refusal itself may be introduced as evidence against the subject at any subsequent criminal trial. Throughout the encounter, the pilot stays cooperative, asks clarifying questions, and accepts the outcome with composure. The officers in turn remain respectful, patient, and procedurally precise at every step. The pilot's luggage, lanyard, and Southwest Airlines credentials are photographed and secured as evidence. He is then transported to the Chatham County Detention Center to be formally booked into custody. Aviation impairment standards are dramatically stricter than highway DUI thresholds. A pilot carries hundreds of lives on every pushback, so even the suspicion of alcohol use halts the flight immediately. The first lesson is the 8-hour rule is a floor, not a ceiling. Alcohol metabolism varies by body weight, hydration, sleep, and food intake, so a strict personal margin well beyond 8 hours is the only safe approach. The second lesson is that refusing a chemical test rarely helps the subject. Field sobriety observations, odor evidence, and the refusal itself can together support a conviction without any blood result at all. The third lesson is that cooperation and composure matter. The pilot's calm demeanor did not save his case, but it preserved his dignity and prevented the encounter from escalating into additional charges. The final lesson is for every safety-sensitive professional: pilots, commercial drivers, and medical staff. The job does not end at the bar's closing time, and the next morning's duty period begins long before the cockpit.
Hang on, one second. Alright, go ahead and wash your hands. Yeah, no problem. 751 base. I have one white male, 1095, red implied consent, refused blood. What?
Airlines is asking, is there any way that we can release them to the airlines? Because they've got all of the on the phone and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with this.
Yeah. I'm on the upper level crew.
I've never done on an airplane like that.
Yeah. Can you just make sure the heat's on? I know it's cold.
Okay.